Hi there, I'm Kim at Shiplap and Shells, and welcome to the Pacific Northwest. I am going to be transplanting my seedlings from the greenhouse to my raised beds today. But first, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so anytime that Kellogg has a video like this for your garden, you will be notified. It seems like it took so long to get to this step. I started sowing my sweet peas and then my snapdragons at the end of January, beginning of February in the greenhouse, and followed by all the other varieties of flowers. And then I had to harden them for the last few weeks, and now we finally get to transplant them. And this is the fun part for me. And I can't wait to see how they look in a couple months. Welcome to my raised bed garden. This is my cut flower garden. Basically, but I am adding some vegetables today to the mix. I like to actually put vegetables and flowers mixed together inside the garden. And I started with 2 8x4 beds and 2 4x4 beds. And I am outgrowing them as we speak. So I have brought in all kinds of containers. This actually has really helped me with planting tomatoes because, as you know, you can't keep the tomatoes growing in the same place. I think it's 3 or 4 years. I have a garden app that I use every year, and it tells me where I can plant my tomatoes. So having 2 new containers is really going to help. And then I like to add my vintage yard art too. So I've already done my zinnias, my pincushion, cosmos. There's some marigolds that I'm going to plant today, and I still have a few more seed starts to plant. These are dahlias that I sowed in the greenhouse from seed, so this will be really interesting because it's a mixed variety. And then all my tubers are going to be along the fence line here. I have holes drilled in all the containers, and these raised beds were actually built into the ground, so there is no bottom. So all those worms and all that great dirt was already there, so that was really fortunate actually. And so what I do is I bring in a fish compost every single April, and I mix it in, put it on top, and it helps to keep my dirt nice and full of nutrients. The other great thing that my husband did for me is he added screws. So I could have 1 foot squares here, so it would be easier for me to visualize how I was going to plant my seedlings. I'm a very visual person, so for instance, it would be really difficult for me to try to figure out my 1 foot squares. So I just go ahead and make these little squares using these screws, and then when I'm all done planting, I just take off the twine and we're good to go. But it just helps to keep everything a lot straighter and in line. Several different varieties of flowers that the slugs love, and so you really have to watch it, especially with the dahlias. You have to make sure that you have some kind of slug protection. I use slug bait, but you can use eggshells and coffee grounds, I've heard, and beer in a cup, all kinds of things. But it's going to be really important to make sure that the slugs stay away, especially when they're first starting to grow. I had to already replant a couple of these because they ate so much of the seedling already. First thing I'm going to make sure I have is the fish compost is going to be here, and I'm going to make sure that the soil is really moist and evenly watered. These are going to be 1 foot, and I already have my twine so I can visually look at it, and I'm just going to use a little divot or a spoon, and I'm just going to poke the hole And I just want to make sure that it has plenty of water. So I'm going to water the little hole. And then you can also use a slow release fertilizer, which I don't have right in front of me, but definitely want to use a fertilizer of some sort. And a slow release just makes it easier for me not to have to go back. And there you go. And then I push down, making sure all the air pockets are gone. And then I'm going to soak it. And then I'm going to put slug bait on it, around it, if it's susceptible to slugs. It's that easy. And then when I'm done, I'm going to take the twine off and be good to go. And then eventually, when they get a little bit taller, you're going to want to pinch the centers so they are not concentrating on growing taller, they're concentrating on being bushier, and you'll get a lot more blooms that way. Now that everything's transplanted, I can't wait to show you what my garden's going to look like in a few months. I'm so excited. It's going to be such a transformation, you're not even going to believe it. Thank you so much for following along. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I'd love to hear your comments.